Hello, everyone. My name is Seth, and today I'm going to give you my review of Chapter 22 of The Mandalorian. I want to go ahead and say at the top of this, I have really been enjoying this season of The Mandalorian. I don't think I've liked it as good as the first or the second one, but I've still been having a good time. You can go back on my channel and check out a couple of other reviews I have and kind of catch up on my thoughts on the season as a whole so far. But before I go any further, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can receive notifications when I upload my next video. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in right here and just say that I did not like this episode. I did not think it was very well done. I think probably the main part that I didn't like was the writing. I did not think that the writing was very good in this. I mean, at this point in the season, we only have 2 episodes left now, and I feel like there's a ton of ground to cover. This episode, I guess, covered a little bit of ground, with kind of, jumping all the way down to the end with Din and Bo getting some Mandalorians kind of on their side, but this whole episode just felt weird to me. And not the good kind of Star Wars weird. It just didn't feel right. It kind of feels like we still haven't really gotten going in this season so far. Maybe if this episode would have happened, maybe like episode 2 or something like that, or if we were having like a 16 episode season instead of an 8 episode season, maybe that would kind of enhance my enjoyment of this episode, but unfortunately that's not the case. So in this episode, it starts with kind of Bo-Katan's old crew showing kind of what they're up to, and then Din and Bo are going to try to get them on their side. They go to this planet, and then their ship, kind of like the story, is derailed a bit, and they go and meet with Jack Black and Lizzo, which I felt was a little odd. I kind of feel like, even though there are some stars, like with serious star power in Star Wars, I feel like I can see them as their characters. But with this, I just kept thinking, oh, that's Jack Black, and no, that's Lizzo. So I don't have an issue with cameos, but I don't know how I feel about this. Again, it kind of fits into what I said before, is that it just feels odd. This episode just feels kind of strange to me. They just kind of feel out of place, and that's also including the other cameo of Christopher Lloyd. I mean, I think Jack Black could fit in a corner of the Star Wars universe, but same thing with Christopher Lloyd, and I would say the same thing with Lizzo, maybe, but it just didn't really work for me in this episode. Before Din and Bo-Katan can go and talk with her former group, they have to go on a little side quest of learning about some of the droid malfunctions that have been happening in the city. And I think the whole idea of that city is kind of interesting. And I also think the idea of Jack Black's character being an ex-Imperial and some of the kind of complications that come with that is interesting. I think it's really cool that we get to see some of the battle droids again. I thought that was really well done. But one of the issues why Din and Bo-Katan have to do this is they can't have a big group of armed individuals go into the city because he's ex-Imperial. So, like, I don't know why you specifically needed to wait till those 2 showed up and you just couldn't get to that group. I don't know. See, that's another thing part of the writing, that it didn't quite fit, didn't quite make sense for me. Again, one thing I did like is getting to see Din be diplomatic with the Ugnaughts. I thought that was really cool. He's had this interaction and this friendship with Khalil from the first season and kind of learned how they deal with things. And so that was really cool to see him kind of take the lead and sit down and be diplomatic with them. But again, with that positive, I think comes a negative, and I think it's kind of inconsistent with what they've been telling us so far, is how much they focused on him hating droids. And I understand seeing the B2 battle droids, those are the ones that killed his family. I get that. That makes sense for him to be uneasy and to still hate that B2 battle droid. But he ends up threatening the bartender at that droid bar. And like, it feels like we kind of went backwards, because part of the whole thing of season 1 is kind of learning to accept, learning to grow, and he ends up trusting IG-11. He even wants IG-11 to be brought back at the beginning of this season, and he accepts R5 to help when he goes to Mandalore. But this really just felt like a step backwards. It almost felt like Jon Favreau kind of forgot all of what had happened in the previous couple of seasons and some of the other episodes. And I mean, I hate to hang that all on him, because I love Jon Favreau. He's done an amazing job with the series as a whole. I love him as a filmmaker, but he is the one that had the writing credit for this episode. Like I said before, it was cool seeing the battle droids again and kind of going along with their investigation of why they're malfunctioning and things like that. And it was cool how they found out and how it links back to Christopher Lloyd's character kind of being a separatist, and that has some really cool prequel tie-ins. But once they finally get that side quest done, they go and they talk. Bo-Katan has a duel, and I think the fight choreography in that was pretty cool. That part really did kind of feel like, to me, they were just on the volume, kind of in like a big open field with not much around it. So I guess the location was kind of, man, that took away a little bit of the fight scene for me. But overall, I think that battle was pretty cool. It did have some nice fight choreography to it. After that, I do like how she stands up for Din, saying he is a true Mandalorian, even though if he's not a technically Mandalorian blood. I do kind of like how they've kind of been calling out multiple different sides of Mandalorians, because, you know, Din in the second season was saying to them that you're not true Mandalorians because you take your helmet off, and he's saying you're not a true Mandalorian because you weren't born on Mandalore. I like how it's kind of starting to all come together and say, like, hey, that's kind of ridiculous. So at the end, Bo-Katan does get the Darksaber from Din. He mentions that he was defeated on Mandalore. She picked up the Darksaber and used it, and so technically that would make her the rightful owner of the Darksaber and the rightful leader of Mandalore. And she tries to kind of fight it at first, but then ends up accepting it and accepting her position. And I feel like that moment kind of fell flat for me, maybe because something similar had happened in Star Wars Rebels, and that was much more of a big impactful moment. I think maybe it was done better, and this just kind of fell flat for me. Bryce Dallas Howard ended up directing this episode, and I loved the episodes of Star Wars TV that she has directed so far, and I think she did a good job directing this episode with what she had. Like, I think the direction was well done, but the writing was not. So if you can kind of stick with me there for a moment, like, the direction, kind of what is shown on screen, is technically well done. It's just she wasn't given much to work with, unfortunately. And another thing I really wanted to bring up is that other than Grogu being cute and going to get Bo-Katan to help save him in the Mines of Mandalore, he hasn't really done much. He hasn't really had an impact on the season other than getting to see his backstory a little bit more. But it kind of makes me wonder if they should have just left him out of the season, if they shouldn't have reunited Grogu and Din in the Book of Boba Fett. I thought that was really soon to reunite them, especially to reunite them not in the Mandalorian when that happened. So I don't know. I think maybe it would have been a little bit better served to have him be absent from the season. But yeah, overall, I didn't really like this episode. I feel like they have quite a bit of work to do to wrap up this season. Now, I think they can wrap up this season and have it be fulfilling, but it's going to take some work. Historically, the last couple of episodes of The Mandalorian in each season has been very well done, but this was kind of just a weird step for this deep in the season. Like, we really haven't seen an antagonist for an overarching story of the season. I mean, we have the pirates, but like, obviously that's not the main villain of the season. Yeah, we're thinking maybe Moff Gideon, but we haven't seen him. Basically, the only thing we know of is rumors, just like the characters in the show. And I think that can be done effectively, but I don't think it's being done effectively right now. So they have some work to do to wrap this story up for this season. I'm excited to see how they do it. I'm a little nervous to see how they do it. Overall, I am still enjoying this season of The Mandalorian. I will have a review of the new episode, so stay tuned for that. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, @CinemaSeth, just so you can stay involved, stay up to date with everything. And don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can receive notifications when I upload my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.